is 2 o'clock on September 19, 2022, and I will call to order the meeting of the Rhode Island State Board of Elections. Madam Secretary, will you call the roll?
Thank you, Vice Chair. Chairwoman McGinnis. Vice Chairman Pierce.
Here?
Member Bettenker.
Here.
Member DeSimone.
Present.
Member Johnson.
Present.
Member Scholes.
Present.
Member West. Executive Director Robert Reposa.
Present.
Legal Counsel Ray McCarthy.
Present.
Thank you, Vice Chair.
Thank you, Madam Secretary. Item 1 on the agenda today, the board may vote to certify the September 16, 2022 primary election results. Mr. Reposa.
Good afternoon, everyone. This afternoon, I respectfully request that the board certify the results of the September 13th, 2022 statewide primary. 137,024 of the 810,605 eligible registered voters participated in the primary. Of the 137,024 voters, 115,396 cast the Democratic ballot, 21,193 cast a Republican ballot, and 435 voters cast a nonpartisan ballot. 137,024 voters represent 16.9% of the 810,605 eligible voters registered. 102,845 voters voted on primary day at their assigned polling place. 17,314 voters voted a mail ballot. And 16,865 voters cast an early voting ballot during the 20 days preceding the primary at a designated location in the community in which the voter was registered. On primary day, 3 manual count ballots were cast at the polling places. 1,600 provisional ballots were cast on primary day, and of the 1,600 provisional ballots, 687 were qualified by the local board of canvassers and subsequently tabulated by the Board of Elections and the election system and software staff. The statewide primary consisted of 250 total races. Of the 250 races, 170 were for Democratic contests, 74 were for Republican contests, and 6 were for nonpartisan contests. The presentation of the results are contained in the summary report RI-PRI M22 dated September 21st, 2022 at 8:32 a.m. that you have in your possession. This certification consists of all federal and state races on either the Democratic, Republican, or nonpartisan ballots voted upon either by early voting mail ballot or primary day polling place ballots. 7,030 voters deposited a mail ballot in one of the 41 Board of Elections drop boxes located throughout the state. The 41 BOE drop boxes collected 35% of all the mail ballots we received, and 52% of that 7,000 number was received in the last 2 days prior to the primary, or 3,655 ballots. 158 voters deposited their mail ballot at one of the 366 polling place receptacles located within the polling place on primary day. The board issued a directive on August 24th to have mail ballot receptacles at all the open polls on primary day. The 158 ballots collected accounted for 145 mail ballots and 13 voided ballots. The terms of the directive issued stated that the ballots issued to the voters on primary day that were inadvertently placed in the receptacle instead of the DS-200 voting machine would be voided. The 145 mail ballots received is 3 ballots more than the 5% stated in the directive for continued use at the polling places on general election day, November 8th. 87 mail ballots were received late at the Board of Elections post office box in Providence between 8 p.m. and the deadline on Tuesday, September 13th, and by Friday, September 16th. We received 673,555 ballots in preparation of the primary as follows. 283,000 were issued to the local board of canvassers to be used during early voting. 370,300 ballots were sent to the 395 polling places, and 20,255 were delivered to the local board of canvassers for traditional emergency ballots. On Monday, September 12th, we were notified by the Secretary of State's office that 17,100 additional ballots had been printed at the Secretary's request to address potential shortages at the polling place on primary day. The 17,100 ballots were ultimately received by the BOE staff, separated into precincts and communities, packaged, and sent to the 116 polling places within 25 of our 39 communities. The 116 polling places then had to receive updated election certificates to account for the additional ballots. The Board of Elections prepared all these ballots that we received, as well as updated election certificates, and the staff of the Secretary of State's office made the delivery to the 25 communities. On Monday, September 19th, the board and the staff conducted 7 recounts consisting of 2 refeeds and 5 rereading of the cartridges. We received 9 requests in total. 2 of the requests did not qualify for a recount. During the preparations leading up to the primary, we received many media contacts, and the Board of Elections actually did 11 press releases. Hundreds of media inquiries led by the Providence Journal, who made over 100 inquiries on their own, and 20 social media posts. These releases highlighted mail ballot request deadlines, early voting drop boxes, primary day hours, and the National Voter Registration Day. Hogan Movers has a contract with the Board of Elections to provide the delivery and pickup of election material and equipment to the 39 communities located within Rhode Island. During the delivery time, they had 8 trucks on the road daily. Hogan's staff works in teams. 2 trucks go to each location. Hogan Movers has delivered and picked up 520 DS-200 tabulating machines, 473 express voter assistant devices, 434 express vote tables, 3,137 privacy booths, 600 blue supply boxes, and 794 red supply boxes. We had 98 technicians located throughout Rhode Island on primary day. The Board of Elections received 210 calls here at BOE headquarters. During the day, 4 DS-200s and 5 express votes were replaced. We issued 1,308 electronic poll pads to be used on election day. 0 of them were replaced. At this time, this concludes the report of the certification of the primary election results, and I asked the board if you to certify the results of the 2022 statewide primary. Upon your certification, these primary results will be sent to the Honorable Secretary of State, Nellie Gorbea, and also allows the commencement of the Matching Public Fund Program, which has 7 participants for the November 8th election. If you also agree, I ask that we could use your digitized signature to sign the document that we send to the secretary.
Are there any questions of Mr. Reposa?
Bob, question. So you mentioned that 87 of the mail ballots were received late in Providence. But you only mentioned Providence. Did we not receive any late mail ballots in any other precinct?
We would not, because all mail ballots are delivered back to the Board of Elections, and we only have one PO box.
Okay.
Anyone else? Mr. Schultz?
Yes, Bob, I understand that overseas ballots are allowed to be delivered within 6 days after the election. So how many overseas ballots did we receive? Do you know?
I will get that number for you.
And is that number included? in
That
the
is
report?
included.
I have one other question, Mr. Chair.
Sorrentino?
With regard to the mail ballot boxes that were inside the polls, how many were deposited?
Of the 360 boxes that we had located throughout the state of Rhode Island, we received 158 ballots.
158 ballots?
158 ballots, but 140, hold on one second. 13 of that number were ballots that were placed in them by the voters on election day, where they didn't place their ballot into the DS-200, where it was according to your directive, avoid.
So those 13 ballots were voided, those voters didn't vote.
They did not get credit for voting.
So those voters got up, drove to the polls, went in to vote, made a mistake, and their vote didn't count.
That is correct.
Okay, thank you.
And based on the turnout, we received 158 in total. 145 were valid mail ballots, which, as I stated, were 3 ballots over the 5% stated in your directive.
Well, the 5% was based on the total vote, not just the mail ballots.
If you're going to take the total vote as 158, then you would be under the 5%.
I do have a question. Just as a follow-up, Bob, of the 145, I guess, do we have a breakdown of where
do.
okay.
And I can email that to you
Yeah, I'd love
at a
to see that.
later time. We have a breakdown of where they all came from.
And one more clarifying, building off Commissioner Bettenker's question, of the 87, you said late, they came into the Providence PO box, but they weren't all from Providence.
That would be correct, because our PO box in Providence collects ballots from the 39
Okay.
communities.
Thank you, Bob. You're welcome.
Any other questions? Is there a motion to certify the election results for the primary and authorize the use of facsimile signatures on the certification?
I'll second it.
Moved and seconded. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? So ordered. Thank you very much. Second item on the agenda. The board will hear a presentation from ES&S of the English-Spanish ballot card generated from the express vote voting equipment to be used commencing with the November 8, 2022 general election.
Joe Vitale.
Good afternoon, Joe Vitale from ES&S. At the last board meeting, I was tasked with the challenge of having the English and Spanish titles print out on the express vote card and have that done for the November election. Currently, our software does not have that option, but I was given a workaround where I can set up the program and it will do that. I think you have samples up on the board and you have samples with your packets. So this is something that we can definitely do for November. There's very little flexibility as to layout. It's a static field and what you see is what you get. Now, we are planning a software upgrade in 2023 where this is done automatically and there's more flexibility on how you can lay it out. But as far as November, I hope that these samples are sufficient.
Can I ask a question?
Any questions?
I just wanted to ask about the translation of the titles. I am wondering do we know if for sure if the way that the ballots are designed by the Secretary of State's office, specifically, I'm asking about the proposition wording. So the way I would translate proposition in Spanish would be different.
Well,
It does means questions.
yes,
so
I would be taking the
the directive from.
translation as it is on the ballot.
Thank you so much.
Any other questions? I notice on the sample we have, in both cases, it refers to Congress District 1. I assume there will be a different.
Oh, yeah, this was just a quick sample that I made up. And all the local offices in those 4 communities will be bilingual, as well as any of the General Assembly offices that are in that. And as well as the questions as well. We'll have the titles will be in bilingual.
I have a question, Mr. Chair.
Yes.
So, I mean, I know we had an uploading with specifically the Spanish, we had an uploading issue for the last time. Has that since been corrected? And also just want to, reiterate and restate, I think, the motion and the vote of the board in, before we look at the actual statute to accommodate the new express votes, that there will be cross-sector of agencies to be able to compare the ballot to the screen, and just make sure there's more checks and balances this time.
We actually had a meeting this morning, the
Great.
Board of Elections, Secretary of State and ourselves, and I
Excellent.
think we have a pretty good plan in place.
Okay, great. Thank you.
And just follow up on that, you will be receiving our protocol via email in the very, very near future.
Any other questions?
Yeah, but I just have one question. I just want to clarify. The representation on the screen, you show the right and left side of the ballot. Is that how it will appear?
It's actually,
in the Spanish side
actually
exactly?
the same ballot. We just put two of the same one up there.
Okay, but on the English side, is that how it's going to appear? With there appears to be English on the left side.
Yes,
And Spanish in the middle there.
yes, that's how,
That's how it will appear on
yes.
the English
exactly.
side and also on the
No, it'll
Spanish.
just be on the bilingual communities.
Just on
Only
bilingual.
the bilingual communities will have the English and Spanish.
And those are the 4 communities that are in question.
Yes,
So the other communities would just have the English version.
correct.
But again, in those 4 communities that have they're in question, I just want to clarify that. So the person who just speaks English, when he on the screen, he would see the representation both in Spanish and English. Is that correct?
Yes,
Okay.
yes, it's one card.
All right, one card. All right, thank you.
Any other questions?
No, the only other question, I guess, is for the director. So once the protocols are established and we get them, we'll have a meeting to approve or disapprove them, I assume.
Your directive at the last meeting was for us to create a protocol and have it delivered back to you.
Okay, great.
And that's where I stated a few moments ago, you will be receiving something soon.
Okay. Thank you.
One more thing, Mr. Chair, we did receive a letter from both Common Cause and ACLU. I wonder, shortly before the meeting, I wonder if it's appropriate to offer comment from the public.
Not at this point. I think we can accept the letter at this point.
Okay.
but We're gonna have protocols the next time.
Okay.
I don't know that.
Great,
And-
that's
and they're
fine.
not, I mean, unless they want to speak.
Yeah, neither the protocol that is not on the agenda. There's really no vote here
Okay.
with
No.
respect to this.
Just
No,
a-
that's fine.
It's just an
No vote,
explanation.
and some of us may not have had a chance to read the letter
Mhm.
yet, so,
Fair.
for which we appreciate, by the way. If there's no other comment with respect to item 2, we can then proceed to item 3 on the agenda. The board may discuss and vote to approve the FY24 budget for the Board of Elections. Mr. Reposa.
Board members, I would like to answer first Board Member Scholl's question regarding the military and overseas. 135 voters requested a ballot, of which 24 returned them. The draft of the 2024 Board of Elections operating budget has been provided to you for your review. The staff prepared the draft with the assistance of the Department of Administration Budget Analyst Andrew Bracker, who is assigned to the Board of Elections. We are required to submit this budget by the close of business tomorrow, Friday, September 23rd, and also to the Senate Fiscal Agent and the House Fiscal Agent. I will let you know that our budget analyst was very pleased that we were having this meeting. They budget analysts and the Senate and the House did not expect the Board of Elections, due to the nature of our business at this time, to have our proposed budget ready and be submitted to them. The 2024 Board of Elections submission totals $4,050,000. This request is $7,087,098 less than the 2023 budget previously submitted by you. The decrease in 2024 is that we are not subject to the matching public funds program, and it does not contain funding for a statewide primary or general election, but it does provide funding for the April 2024 presidential preference primary. This budget begins on July 1st, 2023, and concludes on June 30th, 2024. The State Budget Office provides a base budget for this agency, and upon their discussion, we met with budget analyst Andrew Braca and further discuss our needs. The line items contained in the draft that has been provided to you is primarily made up, our largest line items are salaries and benefits for 13 full-time employees. We currently have 12 full-time employees with 1 vacancy, which we expect to fill prior to December 31st. Another line item, salaried seasonal employees, which we have on staff at all times. We have 3 seasonal employees that work primarily full-time. They do not receive state benefits. Contract services, LHS, they provide pole pad maintenance to us, and their charges have gone up in recent years due to the depth of the work they provide. In 2024 budget, we have allocated $80,000 to this company for payment. Delivery charges from our moving company, which is Hogan Movers, we have increased to $100,000. The reason being is Hogan Movers actually has been moving voting equipment for the Board of Elections back to the days of the old shoot machines. He has primarily been our only company that we have used since we entered into our initial contract with Business Records Corporation back in 1997. Mr. Weisenbach has expressed that he will not be bidding on our next contract because he is going to retire. We wish him a long and healthy retirement. He has been one of our best vendors. But what we are looking to do, because he had the benefit where he was semi-retired and then retired, he would be able to rent trucks through Ryder. He was able to get temporary employees from either Johnson firefighters or when they had a day off. But what we would like to do, due to the change of the way elections are being conducted, some of our communities don't want our voting equipment 8 days before the election. They don't want to take the responsibility of them being in their towns. They also then call us the day after the election or during the day of the election and ask when we're coming back to pick up our equipment. So what we are interested in doing, starting with the PPP in 2024, is when we go out for bid, to ask certain vendors, for talking purposes today, maybe by county, so that we would get a vendor that knows the territory in certain counties. And again, we would be able to get the equipment out closer to the day of the equipment, because ideally we would have 5 companies delivering. Another is the rent located here at 2000 Plainfield Pike. Our rent for the coming year, starting in July, is $580,000. Another line item that has a higher price tag is our utilities, which is our water, our gas, our gas, sewer, and electricity. It's $120,000. I do want to bring to your attention, so most of you are aware, that we were located at 50 Branch Avenue and Cranston Street Armory for many, many years. Both of those facilities are state-owned. So the only charge we had was for water and sewer. But let's be honest, we're in a much better facility today. All the other line items that are in the budget presented for you remain consistent with past charges over the years. And at this time, I ask if the board has any questions relating to the proposed budget, and if there are none, I please vote to approve the budget so we can prepare this for submission to the 3 state agencies.
Can I?
Thank you, Mr. Reposa.
Yes.
Ms. Malenko?
Yeah, I just wanted to ask, there's a line item for security. So security for the building is that just an alarm system, or is it humans or
Cameras.
just?
We have cameras, and for 2022, we had discussed hiring a security company to provide service, but they're only a presence. They have no authority. If something were to happen here, they call 911. We can do that. And we do have cameras. As you may know, if you were here on election day, we did have state police coverage from the time we opened until the end of the night. They were prepared to stay through the night if we had an issue that required them to be in the building. And my plan is to utilize them again in for November of 22.
Bob, you mentioned you plan to fill the 13th FTE budgeted position. Can you say more about what you're thinking for that position?
At this point, no. I do have a position that has been funded. It was a position we had for a few years. They had not budgeted. They gave us the position, but they did not give us the money to hire someone and pay them. So this year, they finally agreed to give us the money. My thought may be to make some classification changes from within the current staff and then hire someone for that position that would more than likely be a position in the warehouse.
Thank you.
David?
A couple of questions about, on our packet, we have these blue stickers referring to 2 spreadsheets. Is there something in the
No,
spreadsheet we should
they're
look at?
just spreadsheets for you to look at rather than this whole book, because they basically give you the line items.
The second thing is, the cost of living has increased for everybody. And there's certain salary requirements for those people who are in state employment, they were increasing their salaries. And you made provisions in the budget for salary increases for members of the staff, including yourself. I know you've done a lot of work and you spend long hours. I just want to make sure that that you're not static with respect to those salaries, that at least you're keeping abreast of the cost of living.
Thank you for that. But there is difficulty in doing what you suggested for all of the employees here at the Board of Elections, because my experience has been, I can't go to a home, like Human Resources and say, I would like to increase the salary of a certain individual. I have to have a vacancy. And then the vacancy would be filled. When that person's position becomes vacant, then I can post again. So it's a task that is not easily accomplished.
So can I just get a clarification? So you're saying, and I don't know this, I never known this about state or government employees. So there are no merit increases or cost of living increases?
What happens with the state, there are cost of living increases when the state union gets an increase. When the state union gets an increase, the union employees at the Board of Elections get those increases, and the non-union people get the exact same increase,
How many of your employees are in the union?
half of them. So they actually did get an increase. And if you remember in 2022, in the beginning, there was the bonuses that were provided to the employees, the $3,000 that went to the union employees. The salaried or non-union people at the Board of Elections did not receive that.
I think the chair has one of those coming because he got a booster today.
I got mine 2 weeks ago today.
He has one of those coming, didn't
You got one too?
And
See,
Dick, you
well,
did too, right?
Yeah.
We have two people on the
Me
board that
too.
have them coming.
I
Okay,
got mine
three
2
then.
weeks ago. But so when you talk salary positions, it's very difficult to change someone's salary here at the Board of Elections and within state government. I have tried.
Yep, may I follow that up? For the non-classified employees, including those department directors, including yourself, is there an increase in salary? Because you guys deserve it. Have you put it into the proposed budget?
Because you need to have the position to move into. We can use me as an example. I was hired into this position on August 31st, 2017. There were 3 steps that you proceed, like at a 6-month interval, a year interval, and then another year interval. When you receive at your top step, the only salary increase you will receive is when the unions get a cost of living.
All right.
So when the union gets the cost of living, everybody gets it?
Yes.
Any other questions?
Just one other one. Is the PR firm that we pay, is that part of the professional services line or is that somewhere else? Okay.
Anything else?
And just to build off that, I'm wondering, just do you recontract with them annually according to budget, and when does the process happen, and what are you
For which
for the PR?
the PR firm is part of the MPA, so we don't have to go out for a contract with them. We can just we can pay them for services provided. And then if we were not happy with their services, then we could go to another vendor that is on the list.
When you say MPA?
That's a master price agreement that is developed by the state.
So there isn't a contract, it's a per hour.
That is correct.
We can take that, or what, maybe talk about it again. Thank you.
Any further questions? Then is there a motion to approve the FY24 budget for the Board of Elections?
I would move approval of the draft budget as proposed by the director.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Discussion? If not, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? It's unanimous and so ordered. There being no further business for the meeting today, is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Moved and seconded. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, so ordered. A little bit shorter than
Oh, that's
the
great.
last
This
meeting.
meeting.
You were talking-
It used to be
Just a half
before
hour.
I think